All right. Are we ready with opening statements?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead, sir.
Good morning. My name is Ben Chu. My colleagues and I from Brown Rudnick are truly honored to represent the plaintiff in this case, Johnny Depp. Some of you may recognize Mr. Depp from seeing him portray characters such as Edward Scissorhands or Captain Jack Sparrow from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. For nearly 30 years, Mr. Depp built a reputation as one of the most talented actors in Hollywood, a respected artist whose name was associated with success at the box office. Today, his name is associated with a lie, a false statement uttered by his former wife, the defendant Amber Heard, that falsely cast Mr. Depp, falsely and unfairly cast Mr. Depp as a villain, a man who would violently abuse a woman. This is a defamation case. It's a case about how devastating words can be when they are false and uttered publicly. Under the law, a person who makes a false statement about someone else can be held responsible for the harm that results from that falsehood. That's because words matter. They paint a picture in our mind based on what we have experienced and what we know, or what we think we know. And because of that, words can evoke strong emotions in the listener and cause irreparable harm to a person's reputation. And when, like Mr. Depp, your career depends upon your image and your reputation, or whether movie producers want their films associated with you, that harm can be particularly devastating. This is a case about the impact of Amber Heard's words on Johnny Depp, specifically the words that she used in an op-ed published in the Washington Post in December 2018, which is shown on the screens. And the op-ed was published, and this is no accident, the evidence will show, on the eve of her first major acting role in the movie Aquaman. The evidence will show that's no coincidence. The evidence will show the words that Ms. Heard used, which are the subject of Mr. Depp's defamation suit against her.
I want to say this, man. This is really interesting. It says, then 2 years ago, I became a public figure representing domestic abuse, and I felt the full force of our culture's wrath for women who speak out. I had the rare vantage point of seeing in real time how institutions protect men accused of abuse. So, we've all seen the videos, highlights of Amber Heard, had the audio of her bragging about beating up Johnny Depp, actually, and beating him up. And so now in hindsight, since the first day was 12 days ago, you guys, it's been over a week since this case has happened. We know Amber Heard legitimately abused Johnny Depp. These are the words that she presented to the public. I am the one that's receiving the domestic abuse. That's what she's talking about. She's telling the public. A lot of women, people know this too. Women know this particularly. We are starting to see women abuse the narrative. Abuse, what is it? The boy he cries wolf. Wolf is coming, wolf is coming. The villagers come, there's no wolf. Wolf is coming, wolf is coming. Villagers come, there's no wolf. Wolf is coming, wolf is coming. Nobody comes and it's actually a wolf this time. This is what's actually happening. So many women, we are seeing it more and more and more and more often. Calling wolf, crying out me too, crying out abuse. We actually, in this case, this is the one-off situation where we actually have video evidence. a lot of it too, that she did it. We are blessed to see this happening, you guys. This case that is happening before us, we grew up all seeing Johnny Depp. We know Johnny Depp. It's fucking Johnny Depp. Rock star. This case, he's not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Somebody has done one illegal thing in their life. He's been partied a lot. People party. People do that. This was a case, you guys, that we're able to actually see firsthand what taking someone that you have loved to court. They're millionaires, and they're still faced and plagued with the same. You're little when it comes to the court. How about all the other relationships where we never get to see this type of evidence for it? We never get to see the actual case. It doesn't get to the public eye like this one does, you guys. Amber Heard legitimately turned the narrative, used humanity's sense and feelings and legitimate protection concerns for women, used it for her advantage to defame Johnny Depp in this situation, you guys. We're still going to be waiting on the actual ruling of this, but this is what we're seeing, you guys. We have the evidence now. It's being presented in court. So I wanted to say that real quick.
And there are three statements that we respectfully ask each of you to focus on. Statement number one, quote, "I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath." Statement number two, 2 years ago, I became a public figure representing domestic abuse. And I want to repeat that because you're going to hear that throughout the case because the timing here is critical. 2 years ago, I became a public figure representing domestic abuse. Statement number three, quote, "I had the rare vantage point of seeing in real time how institutions protect men accused of abuse," unquote. Ms. Heard did not use Mr. Depp's name in the op-ed. She didn't have to. She didn't have to because the evidence will show that everyone in Hollywood, where Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard both have their careers, and many others outside Hollywood, knew exactly what she was talking about when she used the word 2 years ago. I became a public figure representing domestic abuse. That's because, as the evidence will show, and you will hear, 2 years earlier, on May 27, 2016, Ms. Heard had publicly accused Johnny Depp, her husband at the time, of domestic abuse. You will learn during the trial that Ms. Heard's actions were prompted by Mr. Depp's request for a divorce. He wanted out, which drove her to concoct, to make up a story that was, at first, designed to keep him. And then, when he made it clear that finally, after all he had endured, he was done, was designed to recast herself as an abuse survivor, with Mr. Depp as the alleged abuser. The evidence will show that 6 days after Mr. Depp requested a divorce, and he did so politely, and 3 days after Ms. Heard's lawyer threatened Mr. Depp with claims of abuse if he did not agree to her financial demands, Ms. Heard arrived at the courthouse in Los Angeles, California, to file for a restraining order alleging abuse. Ms. Heard, the evidence will show that Ms. Heard showed up with a mark on her face that mysteriously appeared 6 days after she last saw Mr. Depp. And 6 days before, she publicly filed a request for a domestic violence restraining order alleging abuse. The evidence will show that her publicist and the paparazzi were there at the courthouse to document the event, to make sure that Johnny Depp's name was forever associated with the image of an innocent, battered woman. It was a jolt. It was a shocking story, splashed across front pages across the country. No one had ever, in 5 decades, accused Johnny Depp of being violent with a woman. No one had ever accused Mr. Depp of being violent with a woman. He had been in other long-term relationships. He had children.
Objection, Your Honor. Excuse me.
No one, as I stated before, no one had ever, in 5 decades, no one had ever accused Johnny Depp of being abusive of any kind with a woman. That's why it was such a jolt. He had been in other long-term relationships, as I said. He had 2 children. And no one had even suggested ever that he was capable of something like this. By choosing to lie about her husband for her own personal benefit, Amber Heard forever changed Mr. Depp's life and reputation. And you will hear him tell you the dreadful impact that it has had on his life. The evidence you will hear at this trial contradicts the story Ms. Heard presented to the world in May 2016 and again in December 2018.
Yo, honestly, this sounds like an extortion case. It sounds like Amber Heard was extorting Johnny, threatening him with taking him to court if he did not do her financial demands. And that's exactly what they said. That's exactly what she did. She defamed him, and this is extortion. Seduction turns into extortion. Can't let yourself get extorted, man.
The evidence will show that the last time Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard saw each other before Ms. Heard showed up in court on May 27, 2016, was May 21st. And that's a very important date, and I will ask you please to remember that through the trial. Mr. Depp's mother, Betty Sue, passed away on May 20th after a long illness when Johnny and his sister Christy had been taking care of his mother for a very long period of time. And for reasons that Mr. Depp will personally explain to you throughout the course of this trial, he had resolved to divorce Ms. Heard. So on May 21st, Mr. Depp came by the apartment that he shared with Ms. Heard in the Eastern Columbia building, or the ECB, as some people refer to it, to tell her that, to pick up his things, and to say goodbye. There is no dispute that soon after Mr. Depp ended things with Ms. Heard and left the apartment on May 21st, he got on a plane to head out on a European tour, a music tour, for months with his band, the Hollywood Vampires. And Ms. Heard knew that he was going off on tour and out of state when she walked into court to get the restraining order, which she obtained ex parte. It's a Latin word, fancy word, but all it means is that Mr. Depp and his lawyer were not there and had no opportunity to be heard. That's what an ex parte order is. You will hear from the police officers who responded to a 911 call on May 21st after Mr. Depp left. The police officers will testify that they saw no injuries on Ms. Heard. Both police officers will testify that they saw no injuries on Ms. Heard. Nor did the police officers see any of the property damages that you will hear Ms. Heard claims existed in the apartments that evening. And you will hear those officers under oath testify that there was no violence and that there was no crime. You will also hear from multiple witnesses who, like the police officers, saw Ms. Heard between May 21 and May 26th. Those are the crucial days between the alleged incident and the day she walked into court with her lawyer and got an ex parte order. And those witnesses will testify that they saw her without any marks, any signs of injury on her face. And you will hear from multiple witnesses, including Brandon Patterson, who is the manager of the Eastern Columbia building where Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard lived together. You will hear Mr. Patterson say that he saw, and others will say as well, that they saw a surveillance video from the week of May 21st that showed Ms. Heard's sister, Whitney, throw a fake punch at Ms. Heard's face. Now let's just stop there. This is a surveillance video you will hear about where the sister of the alleged victim threw a fake punch at her sister, which allegedly occurred, this incident, only a couple of days earlier. Ms. Heard acting out being punched, responding to the fake punch, and the two laughing about it. So you have the alleged victim and the sister laughing about a fake punch. And you will have to decide for yourself, or we ask that you please decide for yourself, would anyone ever joke about that if there had been actual abuse? Much less ask yourself, would a sister ever joke with an alleged victim about being punched by her husband? Of course, none of this contradicting evidence was publicly available when Ms. Heard walked into court on May 27th and got her restraining order. Instead, as you can imagine, the media storm was instantaneous. You will hear about and see some of that media coverage, which published pictures of Ms. Heard walking into court and other pictures supposedly showing injuries supposedly caused by Mr. Depp, a man who had never been accused of abuse of a woman. The evidence will show that Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard eventually settled their divorce out of court. Thereafter, Ms. Heard dismissed her restraining order against Mr. Depp. But Ms. Heard's false claim that Mr. Depp had